and we've said this a million times, is you have to understand what your body is capable of. And I think that most of us have no idea how strong we are. And when I say strong, I don't mean you think you can do a 300-pound bench press and I think you can do 500. I think that when you're doing your 300-pound bench press, most of us leave 1 or 2 reps on the table every single time. And that will catch up to you when you're trying to put on muscle mass.
Hey everybody, welcome to episode 54 of It's Just Bodybuilding. I'm here with Dusty HANSHAW and of course myself, Big Ron Partlow. And on today's episode, Coach's Corner, Instagram questions, all that sort of stuff on It's Just Bodybuilding. Dusty, you suddenly filled my screen.
Had that effect. While I was eating oatmeal, I probably filled out a little bit.
Oh, you got a little carved up.
Carbs.
Remember, like, share, subscribe, and comment.
Those who comment like us the most, just
yeah,
saying.
Yeah.
You guys might get a gift in the mail if you comment. You might not, but you might.
I like when Scott gives us the little reminders.
Yeah.
Like, he was just telling us when people comment in the first 30 minutes that a video goes up, YouTube sees, oh, people actually watch this show, and then they boost it to more people, you know? I guess if you put up your podcast and no one comments for 3 days, YouTube knows that YouTube knows that no one watches this show.
these people obviously don't even make waves. They don't piss anybody off to get yelled at. They don't excite anybody.
Right. Yeah, so we do pretty good. We always get comments right off the bat, so that helps us.
Or we beg for them, so.
How do you think the Jay interview went?
I felt good about it. I felt like he felt very fortunate to be on. Lucky that we invited him. And I actually I thought it was really good. I thought it was, it's typical Jay. I like that there was a couple things I didn't know. That's the only downside to when you know somebody really well. Right. Is a lot of times when questions are asked, and I'm glad that's why we went the route we did, because there's not a lot I don't know. Like, I know all about where Scrappy came from, tearing up the house, the whole bit.
Right.
So, selfishly, I was very grateful that we asked some things. I didn't know about the Ronnie having a hell yeah time.
That was a funny story. Yeah, and I like that Jay had a good time too. You want your guests to have a good time on the show. Because I've done interviews where you're like, I hope this ends soon.
Yeah, you're actually tapping your watch, seeing if they'll notice.
Yeah, so that's how it goes. But we got a good one. But yeah, he was good. Feedback was great, and I'm just happy to be back for another episode. How's your week been? You took the dogs to school.
It's chaotic.
So what's going on now? You're home alone? Is it like too much to handle? Do you have to have someone come and visit?
Yeah, I'm gonna start borrowing animals for sure. Yeah, so I have a lot going. I had my video guy in town. So we had 3 days of just nonstop. And as you know,
I saw you went and filmed dropping off the dogs.
Of course, film everything, but that was a must. It was actually cool. I did a little bite work with a dog they're training on protection. She was very, very new. It was her 4th day, so it wasn't like quite as violent as I was hoping for. But in 2 weeks, I'll be going back. They have 2 that they're picking up today. That are very, very high drive, and the hope is that they'll tear my arm off. So really excited to get that on video.
Right. Okay.
So we're doing that, and my dogs made me look like a genius. I gave the breakdown of who was who, and I got the text last night that I was absolutely right. Harvey is me, where he can do anything you ask if he wants to, but if he's got better shit to do.
Right.
Whereas Donna is the pleaser. She's like already jamming on stuff. They're like, yeah, Harvey's really smart, but he's got shit to do. So
right. That's funny. I kind
of feel like it's parent-teacher conferences, though. I'm like, is he really smart or is he just a dick? And you don't want to say that.
Right. Well, he's the one who lived with you longer, so he's the most like you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And then she came in, she's like, these two are a fucking mess. So she steps back.
Right. Right.
And they were a little overwhelmed with her size. trying to. So they got those collars, and by the way, before anybody freaks out, they're not shock collars.
Right.
They're frequency collars. Because they were like, "Oh, have you ever tried? Felt one of these?" And I was like, "No, let me do it." So I put it on my wrist, sensitive area, and the guy's like cranking up, and finally he was like, "You feel anything?" I was like, "I can feel it." He goes, "Okay, that's 76. We don't have a single dog here. We run at 76." And I mean, it was like I could feel it. I didn't say it hurt.
Right.
So, because I know that that's something that's going to come up. And I actually asked them if we could do a little covering on that because they're all the same size. So Donna's collar, I'll call it a correction collar, is the same size as the one that would be on a 150-pound dog. It's this big. So on her, it looks gigantic. I mean, she weighs 4 pounds. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's actually funny. I put a picture up this morning. It's on her neck. It looks like she has 2 heads now because she's got hers and then the collar. But it was good.
They do amazing stuff though, don't they? Like those dogs are going to be.
It's the basic stuff was what was really impressive to me. Like they get them all to place on these little stands that they have for them, and then they purposely fuck with them. Like, oh, your dog likes a ball? Cool, we're going to roll a ball by him over and over. And you see the dog do this. And in the beginning, they'll go. But after a while, they just roll with it. So I am curious because my dogs are such hellions. I'm like, I'm going to go every week because I just want to see how the progression works. Because it's one of those things where it's like, I'm not saying you're not going to be able to train them, but I imagine that mine are as big a pain in the ass as anyone you have in there.
Yeah.
I'm a very bad owner, so we'll see if I nailed this properly.
So I spoil them, and I treat them like people, and I let them have authority over me, and they eat before me, and they get.
All I do is pay the bills. That's the setup here. But no, it was really, really cool. I did not cry when I let them go, which was good. It wasn't until I was down the road a little bit.
Maybe you'd get some music that could be edited in with piano.
Well, that's all I've been playing all day. It's been rough. But actually, what's funny is with having Todd here this weekend and filming, you realize like I'm still so in I get to the gym I gotta go. No, I don't. Okay. I guess we'll go to sushi again.
I'm going to have to go home.
Yeah. So don't get me wrong. There's been a couple fringe benefits on a busy weekend. But yeah, when I dropped him off the airport last night, I came home and I'm working. I'm kind of like, it's really fucking quiet in here. All right. Yeah. Yeah. I'm definitely a dog person. And yeah. But the good news is I'm hunting for a new place right now. So I'm hoping that I'll have the whole move done before they're back. Because that part would be easy. I'm doing like a full overhaul, new car, new house, new dogs. Boom.
What else?
I don't know. I might find
a new tattoo.
Who knows? Not yet. Not until October 15th. Yes. My guy's good. If you can get in on the same day, your guy sucks. Just saying.
No, didn't you just have some ink added just a short while ago?
Yes, but they've seen it, so that's not new.
Oh, no, but I meant relatively
I'm buying them a house.
It's all part of the midlife crisis.
Yeah, well, the midlife, yeah. Which is, I hope to God this isn't a midlife crisis because I do not want to live to be double what I am now. That's terrible. Can this be like 6, I don't know, 7/8 crisis?
Right.
This would be like my third one. I'm like 25 would be a good midlife crisis for me.
Just do it earlier when you can appreciate it more.
But yeah, no, all is good. How about you?
So what's new with me? Well, I finished building my bike.
Nice. And you're being a superstar already.
And I rode it for an hour every day. I'm doing an hour a day.
Like cardio.
Bike. Yeah, it's like doing moderate cardio. Like my heart rate gets going and I have to stop and sit there for a couple minutes, drink some water and rest up. And sometimes I'll take 3 minutes, 4 minutes rest. And then I'll go try something. Like I'm just doing fundamental skills, right? So I've got drills that I do.
Have you fallen yet?
No, I have. I've fallen, ditched the bike a bunch of times, but I haven't hit the ground.
That's good.
I've landed on my feet, haven't rolled an ankle. But I'm not doing things where I'm really doing anything risky at all. I'm doing fundamentals, like riding along, laying the bike down, and getting back up and riding away without touching the ground. right?
Okay.
So it's like not a trick, but it's a skill that teaches you bike management, balance. Because like the thing is when you pull the bike up off the ground, you're standing on the side of the bike.
Right.
And I'm 260 pounds. So the bike just wants to flip that way. Like stopping at the top, you have to like put your hip over it. And you have to do it at the perfect time or else you'll go back the other way.
Actually like, how tall were you the same height as you are now when you used to ride?
Just about. I was like almost 6 feet tall when I was still riding. Yeah.
Okay, so the only difference is you got 60 pounds more muscle.
Yeah. So it just like that. So just like laying the bike down, which is easy. You just ride along, a step off, lay it down, and then pull it back up and get on it and try to pedal away. There's like a split second where, like, if you don't get going forward, you just like fall over.
Shoot the other way, right?
Yeah. So I mean, like, I thought, oh, this will be pretty easy. I'll catch this pretty easy because I was actually found there's all these great websites now and YouTube channels with like, oh, you want to be a freestyle rider? Well, you learn this. Like, here's 10 things you have to do before you even start learning tricks.
Right.
And it's like really helpful. Like we never had any of that back in the day, right?
Yeah, you just saw a backflip and you're like, okay.
Well, I just got to try fucking launching off this thing and I'll eventually land one. Like, that's what we just take 1,000 hits to complete a trick, right? But now it's like, oh, okay, I'll start putting my foot there and then I'll start putting my foot there and then maybe I can get around to doing the trick. So it's actually really been interesting. Aside from what I'm doing, the process has been awesome. Right. So because of all the bodybuilding,
it's ingrained in you to have a process.
It's been the most fascinating part of the week has been how my gym brain has completely taken over the process.
Right.
So everything from, okay, I'm going to go ride for half an hour. Okay, I'm going to get a bottle, fill it with water, put some EAs in it. I'm going to take 100 milligrams of caffeine.
Of course. Because
I might as well. It's like cardio.
Yeah.
And caffeine makes the world better. Hello.
Yeah.
And
less of a dick if you fall. That makes perfect sense.
Yeah. And then, so I'm like, okay, I'll take 100 milligrams caffeine, fill my bottle with some EAAs. Okay, I'm going to go ride for half an hour. Luckily, I just go down the elevator and I get spit out on a basketball court.
Right.
Like, I literally live where I ride like, 20 yards from my front door.
Right.
So I just shoot downstairs. It takes me like 3 minutes and I'm out there. And then it's the gym brain. It's just like if you had someone come to you and say, hey, I want to get bigger, you'd put an empty bar on their back, right?
Right.
That's what I'm doing. I'm out there with an empty bar on my back looking like a fucking idiot. But I know that I'll have a plate of side on soon.
Right. I get you.
Like there's just, when you're younger, you're like, oh, I wonder if I could ever do that. Well, I know I could because I became a pro bodybuilder. Right. What else is harder?
Right. Yeah.
So like it's just what does it come down to? Repetition and time.
Right.
If you do it 1,000 times, you will do it.
Right. Yeah.
It's just the gym, the bodybuilding. It's really been fascinating. So I've been thinking about it. I've been talking about it with Emily.
I'm sure she loves that.
No, but just the discussion of like.
She gets it though. I mean, because she did it too. Yeah.
Yeah, because she just bought something too. She just she's always wanted to learn how to DJ.
Right.
And so just before I started looking into getting back into riding, she was like, I want to buy a turntable set and I want to watch some YouTube videos.
Right.
I want to learn how to mix some beats and why not?
You're all sweet.
Fucking do it. So she researched, she bought a couple turntables, she bought some really good headphones, and she's just about to set that up and start learning how to DJ. But it's the same process. It's just spend some time doing it and you'll get better at it.
Right.
The people that just shut up and train, they eventually get some pretty good results.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Don't bitch, just do it. Just don't worry about it and fuss about it all the time. Just show up every day.
But it's cool that you got like you said, the answers now. It's like the difference between walking into a gym and there's just shit everywhere and going, okay, I got to get big, versus a play-by-play off of YouTube of don't even start trying these tricks. Get these 10 things owned.
Yeah.
Then trust me, the trick will happen.
And it's funny because I've been remembering all these times when I've told people that. I'm like, you have to master the basics.
Right.
if you master the basics, the other stuff comes like so much faster. You're still gonna fall down and get hurt, but it's gonna happen 500 fewer times.
Right.
And it's just like how it's sort of all the stuff I like in life. I'm a real fan of people who master the basics and use it to go a long ways.
Right.
Like the bodybuilders that I've always been a fan of were guys who always preach the basics, I mean, I'm an AC/DC fan. They played 4 chords. Like
talent and skill.
Like it was just mastering what you do, Who
was the God? I'm gonna if you don't know this answer, we're done with the show permanently. Because we had this conversation before. Who was the guitarist that you had told me about who used to play nonstop, like literally going into grocery stores when he was on tour and all those things? And a lot of people thought he was like a savant or like the best of the best, but it was just that he practiced a shit ton.
Oh, that might have been the story I heard about Eddie Van Halen.
Yeah, it must be. Okay.
Because I know Eddie Van Halen, like he went through a phase when he was younger where he wore his guitar everywhere.
Right.
Like he'd walk around with it. He'd like be in the house, like walking through the kitchen, stirring his eggs, playing his guitar.
Because you had said something about
he even left the house.
They said like, oh, he's the, was he the best ever? Like, no, he just never stopped.
Like I read stuff where he's like, oh, I was like 10,000 hours ahead of everyone else my age.
Right.
Like, I'd meet other 20-year-old guitarists and I'd have like 10,000 hours more on the guitar than them.
He's like, oh, you would put it down when you went to the bathroom?
Yeah, like I would just take it to the bathroom and sit to pee so I could keep playing. Like, that type of a guy, like just fucking, just that's it. That's I think that was the Eddie Van Halen story I must have told you about. But just that sort of stuff. It's just putting in the hours and just trusting the process and you also, you makes you think about all the clients you have, the ones that just trust the process. Like, here's your diet, just eat that. I just got a new client this week, and actually I got 2 new clients this week. It was a good week. But the one guy, he's been training a long time. He's big, strong dude. And he asked an interesting question, and it was one of the things I put on my list here to talk to you about. Mm-hmm. But it's a big, strong guy, former athlete, all that stuff, played football, etc. And he said, hey, how often does the diet change? And I just kind of thought, that's a good question for me and Dusty. Sure. The notion that there should be a pre-planned, right. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like how do you feel when you get that question from your clients? What do you say to that?
I mean, usually I tend to, as there's concerns, I'm going to say, that come up in a lot of people's times, including my training's not changing that much. The diet's not changing that much. So I try to address those before we even start.
Yeah.
So what it comes out to be that they understand that, number one, I have no idea. It may change constantly. It may rarely change. I've had a few where it's changed so little, even though they're seeing results, like ridiculously, I point out, like, I promise I'm not, there's 2 things. I'm not actually this good, because it usually doesn't work this way.
Right.
And number 2, I'm not being lazy, but why in the fuck would we change it?
Yeah.
Yeah. And it's one of those things, I just drive those 2 home because of the fact that it's like, if it was that easy, I'd write a book and call it a day. Yeah. Because it would fit everybody. But yeah, I mean, there's no way to know how often it will change. And the big thing that my answer to that is always the same, which is your body tells me what to do, not the other way around.
Yeah. And it also takes me back to last week when Jay was talking about, when I asked him about 2003 that year, that
the same workout, the same diet.
He's like, I did the same workout, same exercises, same order with the same weights. He even said that.
Yep.
For the whole year. But the point was he just trained hard. Like he just got in, busted his ass, pushed it, trained as hard as he could with the big weights as he could, and just did the same exercise. He did T-bar rows every fucking back day.
Yep. And
then, obviously go back to Dorian again. Dorian would do the same thing for years at a time. He would be like, 93 Olympia. Oh, that's when I was starting with the 10-degree decline barbell. Right. Oh, the 94 Olympia. Oh, I was starting with incline Smith that year for the whole year.
Yeah.
Like, just those movements that you get on and you use them to just max your strength, engage your strength for the whole prep, and nothing changes.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
And that's how I like it. It's funny because this week, actually, I'm going back in time and going back to a push-pull leg split. But I'm going back in time with concerns, meaning it'll be a three-way split. I train 4 days a week. I want to get back down to training less, falling into that mix of liking to train a little more than I should.
Right. Okay.
and losing benefit. But the concern or the thing I'm watching for is not this week, because it'll be the first week back, but next week once I'm in the swing, making sure that the arms get the attention that they need, biceps really, because pairing them with back and how I train back, it's going to take some. I mean, fortunately, as somebody who doesn't have to go anywhere after I train, I've actually already considered the idea of having like 20 grams of carbs and a small amount of food and just sitting at the gym for 15 minutes and then start doing biceps.
Oh, right. Okay.
Like giving them just like a break, essentially, adding some fuel back in and then going, because you know how it is. It's like same reason you tell a client to train calves or abs before they start, because by the time they've killed legs, they're not doing calves.
Yeah.
They go home. They're not doing abs. They go home.
Right.
So that's always the discipline play. Well, so with those, that's the only thing I'm watching.
How many sets would you even do for biceps if you're doing a push-pull leg split training 4 days a week?
For this round, which I actually just wrote this morning, the plan is 5.
You'll be honest. That won't be.
Yeah, I mean 5 working sets, as you know. Yeah. That's the whole John Meadows argument. Like,
so what? Three exercises?
Yep. Yeah. So it'll be
2, 2, 1.
Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
And see, I know the deal, Dusty.
Yeah, it's really. I mean, it's really. That's the thing, is it is that simple. But it's making sure that, back to the same thing, when you're only doing 5, if it's not at maximum intensity, it's not enough.
Yeah.
So it's making sure your brain's there. But it'll be fun to get back to, because it's one thing I've found is, as I've stretched my workouts out and I'm training 5 days a week, the workouts have gotten shorter because I'm doing less. And the intensity is shot up even higher. So I'm like, okay, well, I want this intensity with that workout with 1 more day off.
I see. Yeah. Is there any particular thing that made you change? Because you were training about 5 days a week, right? 2 on, 1 off?
Yeah, I changed because I had body parts that I wanted to specifically go bigger. So like legs was a 2-day thing every single week. For a while there, I wasn't even training back. It wasn't necessary. So now it's just... It's getting back, and you know what it really is it's fun.
Yeah,
I love training that way, and I just realized I want to get back to that, where I just am dying to go to the gym, because I die to go to the gym twice a week right now, like on my favorite days. I want to feel that way 4 days a week. So it's like, I just told you, I'm training 5 days a week. There's 2 days a week that I'm really excited to go. The rest, it's fun. I mean, I'm training, but now I'm going to drop the days, but be excited to go every single time.
Yeah. I know what you mean.
And I love the scoreboard. That's the big thing. Even though I keep track of my numbers all the time, it's different when you're truly running a push-pull leg. I mean, you're looking at those numbers before the set. Like, it's, it sounds so melodramatic, but it's like success or fail right now.
Yeah. No, I know what you mean. I always enjoyed the real true logbook training. I mean, that was a blast for a long time. My trainer right now is just, it's been solid because I've been healthy. And that's just my number one thing is, my strength sort of stays. I get the odd week where I might have like a good set or two. Like, my partner will notice and be like, that was a good set. Like, I'm like, yeah, still got it. Still got it. But then there's the odd day where I'm like, oh yeah, my pressing's down a little bit today, but I can usually link it to something like, my triceps were especially fried after I trained them or something like, or we'd shoulder pressed. We did like an extra bunch of shoulder pressing 2 days before that. And I'm wondering if that's maybe where, so I don't get stressed out if I have like a day where my strength is down a tad or something.
Normal day, yeah.
Because it's still in normal range, but it's been really, really holding. So, and I actually dropped my TRT down a touch just to see if I would notice it.
Right.
So I was at 300 a week, which I don't even call TRT. It's just the dose I run.
Mm-hmm.
But I did drop to 250.
Right. And how long
I did
ago?
4 weeks ago.
So you know now.
And I know now. So then the past week, my strength did go down a little bit. I felt a little bit like a couple of reps on some of my presses and stuff. I was like, okay, that's probably where that comes from.
Right. No, it's funny. So, I'm glad that you said those words because I tell guys all the time, and it's the same word, so don't hammer me here, but the amount of weight you can use should not really go down, but you're going to lose a rep or two. Same thing with me. Like I can still pull 700 off, completely off. Right. But it's not going to be for 9 reps.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's still it's still a decent like weight handling strength is good, you know?
Yeah.
But yeah, so I did notice that. And it was funny. I didn't mention it to anyone because I didn't want it to, you know, when you talk about something almost makes it like,
yeah,
like you just want to not tell anyone and see if it actually still happens.
Well, yeah. You're essentially telling them it's about to happen.
Yeah. You know? So I just wanted to see.
You're going to notice my strength dropped.
Yeah.
You might notice, which means it's coming. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just wanted to find just a little experiment, like how low can I go before the level I'm at comes down a touch, right? You know? So, but it's been very fascinating to be able to be, you know, 260 pounds, pretty lean on like, crumbs, you know, and for a long period of time too, you know, like it's pretty much been, I don't know, it's been a year since I've been like this.
How long have you been training full bore since the quad?
I would say I trained as hard as I could the whole time, but I'd say that
it's not in your brain anymore.
Oh, not in my brain anymore.
Yeah.
The 2-year mark.
Okay. Yeah.
And we're at the 3-year mark now, pretty much.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Or 4-year mark. Yeah, we're at the 4-year mark.
Don't say that. That makes me old and us old because I was there.
Yeah. I'd say, you know what? Maybe even the 3-year mark was where I was truly mentally kind of past it.
Right.
I'd say I was physically given her at the 2-year mark.
Right. Yeah. But it wasn't.
But mentally still like making corrections up to the 3-year point.
Yeah. It's interesting. The reason I bring that up is I actually have a client who had 2 back-to-back injuries, like literally recovering, and I can't remember if he tore his tricep, bicep, something, but had a bad injury with the surgery, and then while recovering, got tripped up by his dogs and tore his tricep. Same arm. And he's back now. He's been given the clearance to go, and this is a while ago. This is I'm going to say a month or month and a half that he's been a go, you know what I mean? And I can hear in the emails, I still feel the footsteps, you know what I mean? Where finally I just said, hey, knock it off. Trust. The doctors always go more than is necessary.
Right.
If they're telling you can go, and it's going to be achy, it's going to feel different and all those things, but you can go for it. And you won't be as strong as you were, so you're gonna be limited by the fact that you're just not as strong anymore. But don't be limited by your brain,
right?
And that's why I wanted to bring it up with you, because I've had those things, but not as a bodybuilder, and as a kid. And when you're 18 years old, you're invincible.
Yeah.
Like the thought of fear when I was like getting my surgeries is comical. You know what I mean? Because you know, at 18, fear. I told you about when I had did I tell you when I had my knee done? I had it scoped. So they scoped it. I came in the next day and I was like, what's the deal, doc? And he goes, just go with how you feel. It's not a major surgery, you know? So I was like, okay, cool. So the next day, I call him. It's bleeding out of the holes on the leg. My knee is swollen up to the point it won't bend. So I call him, and he was like, what the hell are you doing? What do you mean? I was like, I got to come see you. It's bleeding. It's this and that. He was just like, how? And I said, well, a couple girls from school invited me to go for a hike. So I went on this hike. And he was like, why in the fuck would you go on a hike? And I was like, you said to go as I felt. And these are very attractive women, and they want to go on a hike.
And that's how I felt.
And I felt like this was a good idea. And that's what I mean is when you're young, like, I wouldn't go on a hike. And I'm not smarter now. I just know that my body can break. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like, how do you cross that line? Because, you know, at the same time, I went to a sports specific doctor for all my injuries, and they'll tell you like, okay, the time is 16 weeks. You can do it in 9.
Yeah.
And they tell you up front, like, this is what we tell humans. You can do it this quickly. Go.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So it's I'm trying to establish that. Like I put up the post about Matt. I don't know if you saw him doing 495 deads.
Yeah.
And I laughed because when he was fresh off of the injury, he still had that like, holy fuck. Like he had just had the conversation with the doctor, like, you're going to need to learn how to walk. And he was not himself. So he texts his retard friend me and says this. And I was like, oh, cool. Well, how fast are we going to do it? Because that's dumb. That's not happening. And he immediately switched into himself again. It was like, oh, I think we do it in half the time. So I laughed because he was texting me while he was doing it. And he posted the video, and I shared the video without looking at it. But the last thing he texted me was, I just did 405 and it didn't seem bad. So I posted the video. I said, not bad, 405, whatever. And someone goes, that's 495. And I literally answered, like, I didn't look. So I had to go back and change.
I saw that. I saw the edit.
I had to go back and change because I literally didn't even watch the video. I was like, all right,
That's
405,
funny.
fucking day one, beautiful. The guy's like, hey, dipshit, that's 5 plates a set.
Yeah.
You've done this once or twice. You should know what that is.
Yeah, that was crazy, man. I'm trying to remember, like, just the fact that he's holding 500 pounds in his hand, so there's 500 pounds on the tendons.
On 2.
On both his tendons, yeah. I'm just
went.
trying to think of how long it took me to put that much stress. I guess it was like 5-6 months after the injury. I think I squatted 3 plates.
Right. Yeah, I think, you know, what's funny is he did tell
6
me.
months?
He told me afterwards he's already done legs, but he didn't push them like that for legs. It's totally different. You can just let go. You know, and then the next day, they weren't sore, tight, stiff, not sore. But again, there's the difference. So putting a bar on his back, he's still being careful.
Yeah.
But that's what I want to drive home is like, how would you spell that out? Like once you know, the doctors have told you, how did you just one day go, okay, it's time, dude. I just got to trust this shit.
You know what? Honestly, I thought about Branch Warren a lot.
Mm-hmm.
I just kind of mentally clung to the fact that his didn't come off.
Right.
And I thought there's no way I'm being anywhere near as reckless as Branch.
Branch walks the grocery store violently. So yeah.
Yeah, like he walks like he's always hunting, you know? Yep. And I'm like, yeah, there's no way, like, even if I push it, I guarantee I didn't push it. And then I even thought of stuff like my equipment's all smoother.
Right. Yeah. I have a better gym. In Canada, it's a safer place.
You know, I should be able to, you know, you can't live in fear. Like that was another thing too, is just, this is going to be a test of whether or not I let myself live in fear.
Right.
And so that was a big thing. Like I always would push myself in the gym. I'd be like, nope, I'm throwing another plate on the leg press today. I said I would, you know, it doesn't hurt. There's no reason for me to be worried. It's healed, you know, like, and my doctor even told me, he's like, you know, once you can touch your heel to your butt, you can load it.
You're in business. Yeah. Well, and I do know, obviously, from knowing you, that then you just made the decision the day you trained with James that you're going to go.
Yeah. Like I knew ahead of time. I was like, okay, I'm training legs with Hollingshead for that episode of Mutant on a Mission that you're talking about. Yep. And I was like, and I'm going to like push myself, because there was also the fear of the fact that I wasn't in Canada. So like if something would have happened,
a different thing if it blew out.
Something would have happened, would have had to fly home with an injury, and like, but I had to mentally escape that prison. That was like a shoot that I'll never forget.
Yeah, I imagined, because we obviously talked about it right afterwards. I imagine you sat in your hotel room that night and was just like, "Holy fuck!" Like,
Oh, I was like the
I'm
happiest
back.
guy. Yeah, like I was just so happy after that workout. I remember even talking to Matt. Matt Sinkerang was, obviously with me on that trip, right? Shooting the episode and all that. And he was like, he could tell I was super happy. Like we went out and ate afterwards, and I was just like,
Fucking cloud nine.
just fucking, that load off your monkey off your back,
Yep.
you know. And it's a great story now because Hollingshead's like super freak, uber super freak now. So yeah, can I say I trained legs with him back when he was still little people.
Don't think he was ever little people, but in comparison to himself, I know what you mean.
Did you see Fouad on the show the other day when he was like, people quit asking me to have Ron and Dusty on the show. We can't have 5 people. Do you see any podcasts with 5 people?
Yeah.
He's
You
like,
can do one, we can do the other one, but we cannot do both.
you can have guests on my other show. Yeah, like he's like, we can't do 5 people on the show. So, well, we should have all of them on one at a time.
For sure. And then we should have all of them at once just to prove that it can be.
Right, just to prove. We'll do
or to prove that it can. See, Fouad was right. This was terrible.
The joke to me is how many people have been stuck in Zoom calls for the last 5 months, and that's what it would look like.
No
So it look like a company board meeting or something. It would be just hilarious. But yeah, we haven't had Ben on the show, so I'd like to have Ben on the show. So I'm publicly want to invite Ben Chow on the show, and I'll send him a message later. And maybe we'll have James and Fouad on again soon. There's been a lot going on. They were early guests.
Yeah,
they were a year ago.
We've had everyone. We've had Iain. We've had James. We've had Fouad.
Yeah.
We definitely got to get Ben on.
Is Iain a regular part of Bodybuilding and Bollocks now, or is he just? Mm-hmm. Oh, okay, he is. Yeah. I thought he was like filling in when they were like.
It seems like he and James kind of bounce back and forth.
Okay.
And you know me, like I literally, my attention span is terrible, and I think it's because what I like about that show is it's entertainment.
Yeah.
I can't watch a show about. And somebody's going to be so pissed. I can't watch a show about bodybuilding and food and shit because the odds that you're going to tell me something I don't already know, or I didn't read off the same study that you're talking about.
Well, and then there's also just the brain break stuff. Like you need to listen. You need to do something else with your brain.
Yeah, so it's fun to get on there and just listen to them go on. But it's about bodybuilding, but it's opinion based and stuff. But I will still watch. I'll watch 20 minutes of it and be enjoying it. And then he'll come out with a new episode for my next cardio session. And I just go to the new one.
Right. It's kind of what I do with Rogan. Like I'll give almost every episode of Rogan a go while I'm cooking food or something.
Right.
And then there's just the odd one, like
that you listen all 3 hours over the course of 2 weeks.
Yeah, and it can really surprise you. Like there's episodes I've expected to be good that I was like, oh, this is kind of like was kind of a slow episode, and then he'll have a guest on. Like he had Bob Saget on a little while ago.
Oh God.
And that was so funny. I listened to the whole
You
thing.
were shocked that Bob Saget was such a great interview.
No, I knew it'd be good, but just the little stories he had. Like he had the craziest stories about people. So it was pretty funny. But yeah, there's a couple other podcasts I kind of, knock on once in a while. Sometimes I'll even watch like a little bit of political stuff just to hear what they're saying, but then I get annoyed, so I usually turn that off.
Yeah, I was going to say, I've been turning off the politics of the world as much as I can recently.
Yeah, it's probably
I know
better.
where I stand, so I don't need to listen to anything else.
Yeah.
I told you that our one friend, I'm like, man, it's rough when someone who's not from the States and obviously doesn't get great information is spewing politics. I'm like, I'm just going to hide your stories for a while so I don't disdain you.
Right. I stay off Facebook completely. I find that to be just
Facebook,
toxic.
I don't think.
Yeah.
Well, I just haven't deleted it, but I don't go on there at all.
Hey, let's see some of the questions you got. Fire up some of the cues.
Let's do it. I actually got it's good because I got quite a few. Boom, boom, boom. Here we go.
I know you save a lot from the other ones too.
Yeah, but lately, because I've been putting them up relatively early. There's some solids, and I keep some if I need to go back. Oh, there we go. Under 6 weeks out from a show.
Under 6?
Under 6 weeks out.
Yeah.
Do you and Ron Partlow suggest balls to the wall, or do you reel it in?
I would still keep training very, very hard. I might, just depending on the situation, I might not do as many like rest pause sets and stuff like that. Or just really keep an eye on the strength, because you don't want it to dip. Right. I'd rather not train past failure and keep my strength.
Right.
Than smash force reps on everything and see my strength go down. So if your strength does take a dip, the first thing I would do is just kind of not go past failure for a week.
Right.
I wouldn't necessarily back off on anything else. I would still train just as hard with the same weights, but, maybe just give a little bit less of a dig into your recovery, because you remember your calories are dropping too, and body fat's low. And that's also, hey, I'm just respouting advice that Dorian Yates gave the world after he retired. He was like, the only regret I have about my career is I probably trained too hard in the last 6 weeks before a show.
Yeah. Well, I think also you factor in the way I train, I can train identical. And the reason is I don't do forced reps. Like, it's one assisted rep and then we rack, because I go to my absolute failure. So my guy will help me finish a rep, but not finish 5 reps. And for the most part, like right now I have been, so this will confuse people just because of my training, but if I'm training DC, there's no drop sets. So I'm not burning the muscle all the way out. It's rest pause. So I'm a firm believer, like you said. I get nervous when someone says reel it in, because reel it in sounds like I'm tired.
Yeah, exactly.
Can I back off a little bit? And the answer is no. And also the big thing is, and the same that'll be answered on every single question you ever ask in bodybuilding, how do you feel?
Yeah. There's
a huge difference between I'm tired and this isn't safe.
And another thing too is the reason why what Dorian meant when he said he probably trained too hard the last 6 weeks was the going beyond failure with the 6 rep weights, like very, very heavy. You could still go train very, very hard, but lighten your loads a little bit to be safer on the joints or something. And this is all in the context of assuming that you've trained as hard as humanly possible all year.
Right.
Right. Because a lot of these people, sometimes they're the ones that ask these questions. They're the ones who didn't train that hard all year. And then as the show gets closer and they get more like, oh my God, they actually start pushing themselves. They don't need to back off at all.
Yeah. You're so rested.
You're so rested. Like, you just happen to be 6 weeks out, but you should actually train harder than you are, because then you should have been training that way the whole time.
Right.
Yeah. So there's that.
No, agreed 100%.
Okay.
Some of these are very difficult.
You're very difficult, Dusty.
I'm very simple. That's why these are difficult. Okay, this is an important one, and I don't know the answer to this. Ron, what are your thoughts on aliens, Bigfoot, and paranormal activities in general? Do you have any experiences?
No, I don't believe in very much of the nonsense. I am very fascinated by the Pentagon declassifying some of the recent information regarding UFO encounters by the fighter jet pilots that it released a little while ago. It just quietly declassified these videos that were pretty fucking, interesting. Do I believe our planet's been visited by aliens? Fuck. I mean, it's possible. Right. I definitely don't think we're the only thing out there.
That would be arrogant to think that it's just us.
It's mathematically impossible. I mean, if you just do the math on the large numbers for how many planets there are that would probably have liquid water on them, and how many planets would probably have liquid water and oxygen, and then there's the fundamental questions: who says life needs water and oxygen?
Yeah, like just our life,
right?
Yeah.
Like there's all these crazy questions about what could be out there. So I definitely believe that there's lots of life out there, and we're not alone. But as far as aliens visiting the planet, I mean, it's fucking possible. Who knows?
Ronnie Coleman.
Yeah, who knows? Yeah, yeah. Who knows what these fighter jets were dealing with? But these people have to remember, fighter jet pilots are like possibly some of the smartest people in the military. Period. Like they're just I mean, just the training that they go through is just so fucking ridiculous. They hand them $1 billion planes. I mean, they fucking,
Have fun.
Yeah, yeah. So if these guys are saying there's stuff that's acting weird, it's not that they didn't know what they were looking at.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Pretty sure they know what they're usually seeing versus.
Yeah, they got like $1 million worth of computer in their lap telling them how fast stuff's going and the video cameras. And so people don't know what I'm talking about. There was this video footage from a fighter jet that was declassified very recently by the Pentagon, and they just quietly declassified it. And yeah, it was just pretty fascinating stuff. Rogan talked about it, and we're gonna have to, we'll see in the future what comes of it.
Yeah, yeah. No, I was curious. I mean, I think that you nailed the big one, which is I just think it's impossible to imagine we're the only one around.
Yes.
Okay, here we go. Another one. What is the best way to train for hypertrophy? I've been training for 5 years.
Oh, Jesus. How do you even answer that, dude? You have to stress, like, I don't know. I usually give a really generic answer for this just to get people started.
Well, the generic answer is the right answer, so go ahead.
Yeah. Well, what do we know? Well, we know that hypertrophy generally occurs when you train really hard with weights in the 6 to 15 rep range for the most part.
Mm-hmm.
Some people say 3 to 30 is actually kind of our true full hypertrophy range. But yeah, generally you got to train very, very hard with moderate weights. Right. I think throwing some strength training in there, looking back on my career, maybe I should have done a bit more strength training to boost my weights that I could then hypertrophy train with.
Right.
I've talked about that before. But yeah, I mean, generally that's it. You have to train a muscle to failure, then you have to let it recover, and then it grows.
Yep. There's the big step. Do not wait for the step of letting it grow.
People think they can train a muscle again because it's recovered, but it has to then adapt. So you have to allow for that process. And and everything after that is just adjustments and, minutia.
I love it.
What do you think?
No, I think you nailed it. I mean, the biggest thing that I would say, and we've said this a million times, is you have to understand what your body is capable of. And I think that most of us have no idea how strong we are. And when I say strong, I don't mean you think you can do a 300-pound bench press and I think you do a 500. I think that when you're doing your 300-pound bench press, most of us leave 1 or 2 reps on the table every single time. And that will catch up to you when you're trying to put on muscle mass, because you need to push your body to a maximum potential each time when you're in a phase of trying to grow. And I specify that part because a lot of people really struggle with this idea of progressive overload, because they're like, well, then if you were doing 600 pound deadlifts for 10 years ago, why aren't you doing 900 pounds for 4 now? It's like, it's not how it works. It's up and down, up and down. But guess what? What I am doing for 4 now is more than what it was a year ago, 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. As I continue to progress. Yeah.
Yeah.
As long as I got 7 years, I'm on the 12% upswing all the time. But no, I mean, that's the big thing for me. And then it's also understanding that the best way to train for hypertrophy is to train hard to a maximum thing and then to leave it the fuck alone. And you nailed it right there. I used to say this, and I don't even know how 100% accurate it was because I created dates for it. But I'd say, okay, you stimulate the muscle in the gym. Then you got that 2 to 3 days where you're sore afterwards. That's your recovery. Then you got the 2 or 3 days where you're no longer sore. That's the grow. We don't want to stimulate, recover, stimulate.
Right.
Then again, please no one write down those dates.
That's just
it's not 2 or 3. It's the
theoretical
guide of time. You should not be going back into the gym every single time still sore from the last time. Because even if you're growing, I promise you it's not as fast as it would have been.
Right.
Simple stuff.
Here, I got one for you.
Yay.
We're going to go off the lifting.
Off the grid. Here we go. I'm ready.
Grid. So, of all the concerts you've been to, were you ever really fucked up at any of them?
Yes.
So did you have a get drunk and go to concert stage when you were young, or anything?
Yeah, when I was way too young. When I was still going to here's one that you'll understand. When Blink 182 was Blink,
there
was no 182, and there were 60 of us in a small room listening to them play on a stage, which is essentially a step stool area that was a little higher than us, so we could see them.
That's fun.
So yeah, I went through a stage of, I wouldn't call them punk, but where Rancid, them, ska music, all of that, and I was not a drinker, but I would roll every single time.
Yeah.
So that was always my thing back then, and I always liked it because I remember thinking, and it's funny because I would go to a true punk rock concert rolling, which is hysterical.
That's funny. Isn't that like the wrong drug?
It's like totally the wrong drug. But I always liked the fact that I could mellow back. Like that was always my goal, would be to just actually go. And I guess I'd have my Ronnie Coleman moment. I would sit in the back.
You were the happiest.
Watch everything around and just be nodding.
That's funny. That's funny.
So yeah.
How old were you then? Like
16.
What? 16. Oh my God.
Yes. Yeah. And then younger.
Dropping ego into punk rock shows. Oh Jesus.
Yeah, that's why I always laugh, because I'm like, anybody who understands will get that this does not make sense, which makes sense because it's me.
So let's talk about long-term brain damage.
Oh boy. It only got really long when I started adding mushrooms to the mix.
Right. Okay. That's a whole nother phase. There you go.
There you go. Well, I was getting into health at that point, and mushrooms are good for you.
Right. Mushrooms are the transition. They take you from the partying guy to the spiritual well-being guy.
Now I'm pondering, paranormal activity on the show.
Yes, there you go. This is perfect. I didn't know that about you, Dusty, that you would drop E and go to punk rock shows. That's a fantastic revelation.
It makes no sense. Yes, I love it. In my first concert, which has nothing to do with this, was David Bowie and 9 Inch Nails. It was my first concert ever.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's a stack. Did they do I Hate Americans? I'm Afraid of Americans? They must have, because that was
I assume so. It's so long ago now. But yeah, I went with my best friend's mother, because she was a hardcore, 70s. She's like, I want to go to a concert with you. My daughter hates these. I'm like, I'm in.
Because isn't I'm Afraid of Americans, isn't that the song that Reznor and Bowie did together? So I'm just wondering what year that was that they toured together.
So it was okay, I can tell you. That would be, I think I was 14.
Probably right. Probably
so 95?
Something like that.
95, 96?
That's awesome. I didn't know they toured together.
You didn't? Yes.
David Bowie and 9 Inch Nails. Holy shit.
Yeah. That's not a bad, it's a hell of a way to start your, and I knew 9 Inch Nails, and I kind of knew David Bowie.
Right.
Because of my age. You know what I mean?
Right.
So I actually left there a fan of him more so than when I got there.
Ah.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. That's awesome. He would have been one guy I would have loved to have seen. I saw Nine Inch Nails a couple times. They're fantastic.
Yeah.
Spectacular show. I don't even remember my first concert. Jesus, I don't know what it would have been. It was probably actually my first concert ever was probably a band that's really popular in Canada, but they're called the Tragically Hip. Mm-hmm. But I saw them in '92 at another Roadside, which is a tour that they did back then, which was craziness. But that would have been my first show. But going to concerts fucked up. I went to the Big Day Out in 1996. So if you live in Australia, you know the Big Day Out. It's like a day. It's a one-day festival, and it tours the country.
Right.
So it does 6 stops or whatever. And there was one coming to the area that I was living in at the time, and I just woke up one morning and my roommate's like, "Hey, you want to come to the Big Day Out?" And I was like, "Oh, I can't even know about it."
Sure.
And I was like, "Sure." And he's like, "Hey, grab your shit." Like, I was like, okay, I guess I'm going to a concert. And like, he had this like sheet of paper with all the bands on it and like stage A, stage B, stage C, you know? And I'm looking.
It was a big thing.
I'm looking, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, Rage Against the Machine is here. Rancid's here. I'm like, this is fucking awesome. Like, I didn't realize, because, I was traveling. I just didn't realize it was in the area. Right. And so that was the day that I remember I was really fixed on seeing Rage Against the Machine, and they were playing at like 2 p.m, on stage 3, Right. So I went to stage 3 like 45 minutes before that and grabbed the railing.
So you were right up front.
I was like, I'm not fucking leaving, and I waited, and I remember I peed in a bottle. And anyways, that was a crazy day. And then Rage came out, and they just fucking, I seeing them like in their heyday when they were, Bulls on Parade had just been released as a single.
Right.
And the second album had just come out. So I only had it for like a few weeks, and they came out. So they only had 2 albums, and they played like almost all their songs. And that was the highlight of the day. And then I remember by the time Rancid played in the tent, I went to see Rancid. It was definitely the only day that I ever had where I ingested drugs and I didn't know what they were. So like someone just gave me a pill and I just like took it.
I think it's also someone, not someone you know. Just
I was like, hey,
you're a very trusting man.
I was like, okay, and then like you're like, hey, take a puff off this, and you take a puff off that, and you're like, is that a joint?
You didn't ask.
What does that taste like? I don't know.
And the guy who you don't know, who seemed very trustworthy, is already gone.
No, it's just I was with a bunch of people that knew each other, but I didn't really know them. I just knew my roommate. Right. So they were all,
I'm literally laughing at everything because I could just see it. I could see Ron's like, okay, sure.
I think I would have been like 20 years old. Would have been 20. So I was still plenty dumb.
Right.
But I wound up by the end of the day when I was leaving the Rancid tent at the end of the night, had a bloody nose, no shirt, just had my shorts and my sandals.
Good choice.
Yeah. Well, it was 40 degrees. So I didn't know.
I don't know what that means.
Well, like 40 is like 100.
Okay.
Yeah, it was just fucking hot, and it was just a long day. Yeah, and you got all the different stuff just coming together.
I'm really glad you didn't know since you wouldn't know what it was on.
No, I was okay.
Did you take that? I have no fucking idea.
No, I wasn't like too messed up at all, but I did have a very interesting day. That's for sure. Oh, is the Prodigy? Went and saw the Prodigy.
Ooh.
Yeah, craziness.
Ooh.
Craziness, yeah.
How was that?
It was wild. They were inside like a building.
Right.
So it was like you were walking into a rave at 1 p.m, right?
Right.
Walk in and it closes, lasers fucking going off, and they're up on stage. It was awesome. But yeah, the concert days were fun. I never did the sleep in a tent, like multiple day festival thing though. Did you ever do that?
Yeah, I've done that, but I didn't. Really? I'm me. There was no tent. I had a giant trailer.
Yeah. Okay.
Come on now. Like I'm getting shit right now because I was like, why a truck? I would start doing man shit. And I have a friend that was like, oh, you want to go glamping, glamorous camping, where you've got like a hotel basically.
That's funny. There's a guy, one of the guys who trains at the gym. He's got some money too. Like I know he does really well.
Mm-hmm.
And he grabs a bunch of Mama T's. And he goes, oh, I'm going camping this weekend. And I go, oh, really? You going camping? What kind of camp? And he goes, showers, really nice RV. I'm just faking it. And I just laugh.
Basically, it's a condo, but there's wheels attached to it.
Yeah. No, those days are done. There's no sleeping in a tent, like going to Woodstock or any of that bullshit.
Yeah, no, I wouldn't sleep in a tent.
And then I'd say as far as being fucked up at a concert, I'd say that probably the most fucked up I ever got at a concert would have been the second time I saw AC/DC, and I took quite a few mushrooms.
Oh, nice!
And that was an awesome show. Like,
I like you don't get quite a few, like 7 grams.
Quite a few. I remember.
I'm still big on weights. Like I know exactly.
Yeah.
I'm like I took 3.5 grams.
Yeah. There you go. So specific.
Yeah. Let's see. Okay. Oh, I like this. What is the best cooking invention that has been created since you've been bodybuilding?
Oh,
Yeah.
damn.
I mean, I think the best cooking invention ever for bodybuilders is a rice cooker. Like,
Yeah.
can't be beat.
Yeah. If you're coming down to it, it's a rice cooker.
But I haven't, that wasn't invented while I was bodybuilding. I'm not that old, but.
Yeah. Yeah. I can't even take credit for that one. They were around
that
when
was before you.
Even before
they were
me.
when you started bodybuilding. It was already there.
Yeah. So I just during best cooking invention. Well, I mean, the whole tabletop grill thing has gotten pretty good, I think.
Yeah.
I am very, I don't know if this is weird, but I've never really had to use one. I did use a George Foreman for one show at least, because I was staying at my friend's house and, I just had my Foreman and I was just prepping chicken on it. But every other place I've ever lived, I've had a barbecue that I've generally used. Or I actually stir fry all my grilled meats, like that sort of stuff. And I never really used a George Foreman a lot. Like I know like guys that have like nice houses and money
still rock it out. Yeah.
And they use it like they have a barbecue out on the deck, but they'll throw their chicken on the Foreman because it's so easy and they just do it while they're making their rice and stuff. Right.
Yep.
So I know guys that still rock the grill, still travel with the George Foreman grill and all that stuff. But I never really did that. I guess there was a couple of shows where I took the grill to the hotel with me for sure.
Right.
But yeah, I think those grills have advanced though, haven't they? Like they're so much better now.
Yeah, everything's different. I mean, I still use a George Foreman all the time, but it's because when I switch to fish, it's against the law to cook fish in my house.
Right.
I can't. And I've in all the places I've lived, I've never understood the need for someone like me to have a giant house. So like my houses are 2,200 square feet. I can stink up everything in the house with a batch of fish.
Oh yeah.
Like all of my clothes can need to be sanitized and clean if I do that. My house is definitely small enough to make that happen. So
you get really affected by it. Yeah.
Ooh, yeah. I don't like smell. So, but I would say that for me, the greatest.
You're sensitive to smell.
Oh, I hate it. I have a fear. In fact,
a fear of smelling bad.
Oh,
I know.
Terrible. You know this. Yeah.
Yes.
And like sometimes the top of your shirt, you'll smell it because you sweat in it. And no one else can smell it, but you're sure they're lying to you.
Right.
And you stink. Yeah,
well, that's because the world is out to get you, Dusty. We're out to not tell you.
No, see, I think the problem is the world is too fucking nice. Like, I don't know what, like, I would just, if you stunk, I'd be like, Ron, you smell like shit, dude. I'm doing you a solid.
Yeah.
Because now you don't give a shit that I know you stink. You go clean up before you meet somebody you care about.
So I relate. I relate to you on this. I don't really ever worry if I carry deodorant in my vehicle. I have deodorant in my gym bag. Obviously, I don't want to smell. But I'm more paranoid about breath. I always want to, like, if I'm like, oh shit, I can't find my mints.
Yeah.
I'm like, fuck, where are my mints? Because I put one in my mouth after every meal. Or, chew a piece of gum, or I'll brush my teeth. Like I brush my teeth at least twice a day, sometimes 3 times a day. So I'm like paranoid about breath. And like, sometimes, you have a coffee and you finish your coffee and then someone comes and starts talking to you and you're like I always have, oh shit, I haven't
I make an announcement.
Right.
I was just drinking coffee.
I was just drinking coffee. Send, that's what it is. The social distancing. Social distancing helps with the coffee breath. I'm very paranoid. Yeah, just sometimes, or you'll talk to someone for 5 minutes, and then as you walk away, you're like, oh fuck, I just drank a coffee. I hope I didn't stink. That stuff crossed my mind for some reason. I don't know why.
Okay, so the answer to the question for me is the pressure cooker.
Oh,
I love that I can bomb in what used to take 8 hours in a slow cooker in 45 minutes.
Ah, there you go.
And you cannot fuck it up, which people don't realize. The Cooking with Dusty series, the reason that I think they're hysterical and that people watch them is I'm a terrible cook. I'm terrible. But I've found a way to make like 10 items really, really well.
Right.
And they're all the most basic fucking things So that's why I get a kick out of it, because people are like, oh, it looks so good. I'm like, I suck so bad at this.
Right.
Like, it's more me mocking the fact that somebody says, I don't know how to cook. I'm like, you're not worse than me. And my shit tastes awesome. So knock it off. But yeah, those are great because you literally, Evian has told me recipes or shown me, and it's like, just bomb all this shit in here and put start and walk away. It will beep and shoot smoke up when it's done.
What do you put in it?
It depends on which one. I've got a couple videos up, but like when I do my flank, it's so simple because you literally put in your peppers and seasonings and all that stuff right inside of it, and you just close it. And the next thing you know, if people eat it, they'd be like, how the fuck did you make this? Like, it tastes like you did some fantastic thing. And
it's super tender and everything.
From prepping to it being done is 60 minutes.
Right.
And you can fill the fucker. So like I can cook, 40 cooked ounces of flank at a time and be set. Right. I love stuff like that, or 3 days worth of chicken in 45 minutes. And that's the other thing. I'm cleaning one pot.
Right.
I am it's such an interesting thing because I'm obsessed about clean, and when I cook, you would think there was a war that took place. Someone died in the corner. There's shit on the ceiling. And I'm like, how am I the clean guy? I look around, like I walk in, go get the dogs, and come back in the kitchen. I'm like, the fuck happened in here? And I'm all by myself.
Yeah.
So yes, one thing to clean, and I can pour all of it right into the Tupperware.
Okay.
So that's the magic.
So the pressure cooker. Okay.
Yes. Get one, people. Get one. It's not the air fryer. The air fryer is cool, but I went through a run. Did it for 2 weeks, and I'm like, this thing's a pain in the ass. I can only cook 4 chicken breasts at a time. Dumb. It's like, oh, good job. You made 2 fucking meals.
I have a question. What are you guys watching right now? And any recommendations?
What the fuck am I watching right now? I just started a show. What the hell is it called? Because I'm already, obviously, Peaky Blinders. Now I'm just waiting.
Oh, you're just waiting. Okay.
Sadly waiting. Answer the question, because I got to look this up.
Well, we just started watching American Horror Story season 7. So we're a couple seasons behind. We've had fun with that show. It's been pretty solid. Season 1 and 5 were the best 2 seasons so far. So season 7's been pretty cool so far. It's kind of interesting because it sort of takes place right after the 2016 election.
Uh-huh.
So there's all this sort of like Trump mania going on.
And
so it's kind of interesting to see it now because we're coming into the 2020 election. So it's like you're looking at what the writers did with the characters, and you're like, oh, they're almost like caricatures of what we're seeing now because they're also over the top and how crazy they are. Like the people on there's it shows some anti-Trumpers who are just fanatical, and then there's some pro-Trumpers that are just crazy, and it's accurate. It's really cartoon sort of view of what you see on the media, but the media is almost like, it's funny, like you're watching American Horror Story season 7, but it's like you're almost like, oh, this is almost how the media acts now.
I was gonna say, actually, it's just real life.
Yeah, it's interesting. So that season we're about halfway through, and it's getting really fucking twisted. They get all twisted up. And for those of you that don't know American Horror Story, the cool thing about it is that none of the seasons are related to each other.
You could jump into season 3 and be fine.
They're all totally separate stories that even take place in different time periods.
Oh, that's cool.
But they use a lot of the same actors playing different characters.
Different characters.
Yeah, like just same actors.
Different thing. Okay, I got
different
you.
Story. Completely different story. So you watch season 1, and there's an actor who plays like the neighbor kid.
Right.
And it takes place in 1995 or whatever. And then you watch season 2, and it takes place in a mental asylum in the 50s. And that same actor plays another dude who's in the whole thing, right?
Oh, there's the neighbor kid. How did he get here?
Yeah, so it's like the same actors. Like Jessica Lange is in like the first 5 seasons, I think. And she's like a spectacular actress, I
think that's a smart move, though, if you think about it. Because have you ever watched a show where we talked about that recently. If a show needs the character and you change, or the guy's like, fuck you, I don't do this, or gets hit by a bus or whatever, you're like,
get a new actor to play the same character. It's weird.
It doesn't work.
No, not always. It's
or it works, but you're still looking back. You know what I mean? I've had a few of those where, shit, I can't even think of what it's called now. man, I'm terrible. Criminal Minds.
Oh,
It's such a long show, and when they've replaced people, they've left the show, and they got them out properly. But, like Gideon got replaced by Rossi. Rossi's fine, but he's not Gideon. It's not the same.
Right.
I can't do it. So, yeah, I actually dig that idea mentally because I get attached to the actors in shows. Right. So when they move them out, and then the show just starts to dip in my brain.
It's also interesting because, like, an actor might be, like, one of the main people in a season. And then the next season, he doesn't show up till, like, episode 5.
Right, he gets 2 episodes in there and he gets murdered.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. So it could be and he could be like maybe one actor is like the actual twisted fuck in one of them, and then in the next one he's like the preacher or something. So it's pretty cool. I like what they did with it. It's a kind of mind twisting thriller horror. It's pretty cool, but I've enjoyed it. But we're on season 7. I think they're 9 seasons in. So we just quit watching for a while because we used to watch it on the Firebox. Mm-hmm. The old where you just get whatever, but then those stopped working, and we just didn't get the new seasons. So
you guys like ran into it on your smart TV one day, like, oh shit.
No, I just want to. We kept getting tired of waiting for it to show up on Netflix. Or something.
Okay, started buying them.
Just went to iTunes and said, fuck it, let's just start here.
Let's get wild and spend $30.
We don't have kids. We can spend $12.
I think it's funny because those are things that you do. Like, I think everyone does that. We're like,
we afford this. We don't have kids.
It's something about that. You're like, but they're usually free.
Right.
Now this $30, which I just blew times 100 on something stupid, is too much. Yeah, so the show I started watching, which is already, this is typical me. They have 7 seasons. I just started watching is Homeland.
Oh, aren't they 9? Isn't it 9 seasons?
I don't know, something, but I'm on season 2.
Oh,
and I'm glad that
I recommended that, didn't I?
Yeah, I finally started watching it, and it's the first show in a while where you're like, okay, well, when I finish this episode, I'm gonna go to sleep, and then it ends, and you're like, son of a bitch.
Oh man.
You watch the next one.
You're on a ride there. So we have a viewer. He seems like a really cool dude, and he's been messaging me telling me that he got into Homeland because I suggested it. Mm-hmm. And he's like, I think he's like 7 seasons in or something, or I can't remember. He just messaged me the other.
Started on Tuesday.
Yeah, he just messaged me the other day. He's like, fuck, dude,
I lost my job for this show, but it's awesome.
So the first 3 seasons of Homeland are one story arc.
Right.
And when season 3 ends, season 4 starts like kind of fresh.
Okay.
Like a year later, like sort of that sort of thing.
Okay.
And
same actors and stuff.
Same actors and everything. But life is just a little bit different. It's removed.
Okay.
And there's a new threat.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Which is key.
Yeah. Like a kind of a new story arc and a new set of villains sort of build through 4, 5, and 6. That's how I felt. But season 1 to 3 is you could almost just present that as
one really long season.
As one really long season. It's fucking awesome.
Yeah. Then I've been liking it, dude.
How many times have you been like, oh fuck?
Oh no, there's been quite a few. Or you're like, and what's funny is I'm actually in the middle of a situation where I don't even know what's going to happen yet. But you're like, oh, this is the end. This person is. Right now I'm at the part where Brody, the guy who came back, they just maybe 3 episodes ago found the video of him announcing, you might be wondering why he did what he did. So like they know that he's somebody now.
Yeah.
And she's always known. So yeah, very, very cool. But what sucks is because there's no closure on each episode. So that's how they string me. Because like if you remember, I don't know. Like for example, when you were watching Dexter.
Yes.
2 things happen. You've got the season story, and then every episode has a story.
Yep.
So there's closure, start, beginning on every episode, and the season, which keeps you going. This one is just the whole thing, and that's why I keep staying up 1 episode longer than I should. And now the dogs aren't here, I'm fucked. I'm probably gonna watch the rest of it today.
There's a lot of anxiety between where you are and the end of season 3.
Right.
There's a lot of anxiety.
Yeah. Last night was a big decision to shut it down. Like I had to like be an adult.
I make the important life calls here.
This was a big decision. Yeah, I'm going to bed. I'm not that tired, but I told myself I would go to bed.
So that's what we did last night with American Horror. We watched 3 in a row, and we have not done that in a long time because we're just so busy.
Right.
And Emily's telling me the whole time, she's like, okay, I got to get up at 7. I got a client early, got to get up at 7, so we can only watch one. So we watch one, and then she's like, let's do one more. I'll still get, 7.5 hours sleep.
She's working the math on if I fall asleep right now and I only pee one time.
So we watch another one, and then she's like, okay, you know what? I'm actually like, I'll be okay with 6 hours of sleep. I can do 6 hours of sleep. Let's do this. Let's do one more. And she fucking never does that. She's always like,
I don't need to really sleep because it's a Monday.
She's so disciplined on not being tired. Like, she hates being tired. So we could be like watching the best movie in the world, and there's 30 minutes left, and you just can't wait to see how it ends. And she'll be like, okay, I have to go to bed now because I have to get up at 7. And I'm like, what? Like, she'll do that. But
you're irritated. How could you walk away now?
You walk away. How can you leave me like this? No, I'm just kidding. But she wanted to watch 3 last night, so she must be enjoying it.
She's an animal. She's had a midlife crisis herself, I think.
Yes. The DJ, I told you.
Dude, that's
going to be DJ Emmy.
I like it. Emmy is a play on words. I mean, really?
Yeah.
Fantastic. Okay. Oh, I like this one. What was Justin Compton's honest ceiling had he stayed in the sport healthy? Mr. Olympia. 5, 3, 1, like placing. Like 5th place, 3rd place?
Definitely could have won an Arnold.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely. Could have won an Arnold. Fuck. Definitely top 5 Olympia potential.
Yeah, I mean, truthfully, I read that question. I don't know, man.
I'd have to go. I don't have to. I remember seeing him in person in the gym.
But Justin had.
He was.
I mean, I shouldn't say has. Even though he's small now, he has every muscle group. Every connection and every tie and every muscle belly. Justin is a white black man.
He is utterly fantastic bodybuilder.
Yes. And had it up here, though. Like, he, not just the hardcore, Justin knows his shit.
Well, another thing about Justin is it's so hard to say, where he could have placed because, I mean, the whole thing happened in his 20s.
Yeah.
Like, you have to wait till he's 37 and still going and see, like, did he have some Dexter in him?
Well, think about this. All right, and I'm going to take the question further. Who has left the sport early for any reason had more potential than him?
Yeah, I can't think of anybody off the top of my head.
I can't either. Like,
I mean, I think
I
have to look back.
I don't see Dallas McCarver being better than Justin Compton. I just don't. Like, I mean, because Justin had everything. You know what I mean? Like, the only people, if I was going to say, if there's anyone I think possibly could hang at that level, but we never even saw a splash of, would be like Richard Jones.
So I was just trying to say Richard Jones, but I was waiting for you. I was saying the only other time I could think of someone of Justin's level that walked away from it would have been, like, I remember when Richard Jones won the USA and he was like the second coming of a bigger Sean Ray.
Yep.
And then he just decided to just had enough, right?
Yeah, no, I think he just realized that what he could put that same effort into and where it could go.
Yeah. So yeah, that was that. I mean, it's a great question. I definitely think Justin could have won an Arnold.
I would have been stunned if he didn't win an Arnold. I agree with you for sure on that.
Yeah. Yeah. He was almost like a more complete Dennis Wolf.
Yes.
Different frame size.
Yeah.
Obviously.
I know what you mean.
You're not the
freakier, but also so put together. Like,
yeah.
When you can be both, when you can say, like, he's symmetrical and a complete freak.
Yeah.
Plus, I got really good stuff through my old training partner Jake from him on tips that have worked phenomenal for me on things that suck. Which is, I also think is cool, is when a guy like him who has such great genetics, but also can help someone who doesn't with things that absolutely worked.
Yeah.
Try this. Try that. You're like, damn.
We should get Justin on the show.
We should get Justin. Justin!
Yes.
I'm assuming he watches. He does.
I mean, I know him. Like I've talked.
I can reach out to him. Yeah, I'm sure he would do it. And he's still very, very active in the sport.
He's got his own podcast too, doesn't he? Doesn't he do that podcast with?
With the guys from AD, right?
Yeah, is that him and Dominic Cardone? No, Dominic Cardone. Is that the show?
Yeah. Dominic would be good to have on too.
Yeah, exactly. Really exactly. We could do like 2 months worth of interviews with just podcast hosts.
We should just bring everybody in.
Let's just bring all the podcast hosts and start there. And then they can recommend more guests.
I like this plan. Do you got any more? You want me to? I have lots.
Yeah. You got to go.
I've got so many. No. Oh, I'm going to answer this quickly. Does it make a difference with your physique if you're consuming isolate post-workout instead of regular whey protein? No. If you don't have a problem with lactose, because isolate is 100% lactose-free, you don't need to worry about it.
Yeah.
Oh, I like this one because it's not going to be answered the way they think. Go-to backstage carb source. And you already know why I'm bringing it up.
Oh, backstage carb source. There's no secret or anything. Well, I would have some liquid carbs on hand. Either, I mean, in a pinch, old school, you could use some Gatorade or some Powerade, but cluster dextrin, I guess, now with our technology would technically be the best. It would be good to have some of that on hand, but, you might not drink it. The thing is all the carbing should already be done.
Right.
So you shouldn't have to worry about a magic backstage carb source. Sometimes I'll tell people sometimes I'm like, okay, like an hour before you pump up, you can have, like a Pop-Tart or a couple Reese's Pieces or some sugar. And sometimes that's just makes people happy.
Right.
And satiates them. And then they're not hungry at all. And they have a little tiny little calorie bomb in their stomach. And they don't need to eat anything else because they should have already eaten all their rice and potatoes and all the food they're carbing on and all that stuff. But I would make sure you have some sodium, some water, and some really simple carbs backstage just in case you need something. But I don't really have a go-to carb source. I'd say for me, Pop-Tarts.
Yeah, because those are all your bases. No, that's what I was going to say is the reason I wanted to answer the question is I see people grazing backstage out of and I remember because when I was first coached by somebody, they're like, oh, make sure you bring your rice cakes and your jam. We're going to need that. And I'm like, then you educate yourself a little bit so that did nothing at all.
Right.
When I had that 15 minutes before going on stage, I absolutely, other than me enjoying rice cakes and jam,
right,
it did nothing. Right. I think that's the big factor. Like you should be walking into the show ready,
essentially ready. Yeah.
The reason that Ron listed the things he did is those are if something goes wrong, if you start to flatten out, if you're, if you found out you took a little too much diuretic and you need a little sodium, like I bring salt packets because I know exactly what's in it.
Or let's say you think you're going on stage at noon and super heavyweights don't go on until 3:30 in the afternoon.
I do. No, I do that same thing. I tell my clients, bring enough food to make sure that I don't want you hungry. Yeah. One thing I do find is for myself, if I don't eat, I get bloated. My body is used to food. It doesn't need to be very, very, very much. So I'll have 2 ounces of flank steak and an 8 ounce of potato every 3 hours, no matter what. And then the only time I look is it's like, if it's time to eat and you think you're going to be going on in the next 30 or so minutes, if you're not hungry, don't worry about it.
Yeah.
You're there. But that's really more about bloating than anything. Everything else, like you said, that's more your, in case of emergency, break glass.
Yep.
Kind of stuff. It's not a go-to of like, okay, here's the secret now. You're going to have your Reese's Pieces cups and all this shit that I see backstage. I think a lot of people use those things as excuses because realistically they won't hurt them.
Right.
So it's an excuse to start cheating on their diet before their prep is over.
Oh, right. Yeah.
You could not convince me that having a Reese's peanut butter cup 10 minutes before you go on stage does shit.
No, and another thing would be just the how sort of specifically like people get religious about it almost. Like I remember all those years working with Chris, even when I worked with Chad. I remember Chad being like, let's keep your stomach empty, but then I want you to have a little bit of sugar, like about maybe 45 minutes out. Just put a little bit of simple carbs in, just so you got some carbs in you. And I'd be like, what do you want me to have? I'd be like, just something simple.
Yeah.
Like something simple, like some sugars. Keep the fat low.
Yeah.
So it's not like he magically prescribed me like has to be a Mars bar.
Yeah, exactly.
It was
don't eat the ends, just the middle.
Yeah, like it was just it's people get so fixated on exactly what they have to have, like there's kind of a magic food. So I agree.
Yeah, so those are solid musts. And everything needs to be based on what you look like, guys. Like, do you need anything? I know Jose, for example, because of the way he was built, he basically didn't eat before prejudging.
Right.
Like literally such a small you're 212 pounds and 3 feet tall. Like you're full. Like he's not worried about being full. It was more like what will my physique will be more damaged by a full stomach than a slightly flat 212, 5'2" physique, 5'4" physique.
Right.
So yeah, definitely look at those. No, it's too difficult. Go ahead.
I got one.
Shoot.
So this is actually a screenshot I saved from a message. So a viewer messaged me, and essentially it's kind of a long thing, but essentially his problem is he's got a great training partner, but the training partner insists that they squat all the time. And he says that squats just don't feel like a great leg exercise for him. And his training partner squats too heavy and squats like a power lifter all the time, even though they're trying to be bodybuilders. And he doesn't know how to get his training partner to come around to realize that not only does he not really like squats, but you're not doing them right anyways, is kind of his thing. He's like, if we're here to bodybuild, you're not even squatting correctly. So my point, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm, he's like, well, what do you say to a training partner who's stuck on something and it's sort of stressing out your training relationship?
I mean, for me, number one is I'm doing what I'm going to do no matter what.
Right.
So I'm not squatting just because you're squatting. And I guess I'm old, but I don't prescribe to the idea that makes you a pussy because you don't want to squat. If it's not functional for you, I mean, I have wide hip structure and a giant ass. Squatting is not helpful for my physique. It's just not. I need to focus in a way that I can make sure my quads are working and other things are asleep. If my training partner is squatting and it's good for him, I'm going to be right down the way on the hack squat. And I'll spot you, you spot me. If he's a great training partner and he's stuck in his ways on squatting wrong, I'll let him.
There you go.
Don't care. Like that's not your job. I think that's a bad thing. Like, don't give people advice that don't ask for it. If he likes squatting and he wants to do that and it's going to limit him, I promise you, if your physique starts to change at a better rate than his, he might ask questions. He might not. But either way, who gives a fuck? If he's a great training partner, their job is to be in your set and vice versa. I don't care. If my training partner wants to squat 800 pounds for 2 and he's doing it, I'm going to do everything I can to make sure he gets that done. My job is to make sure his workout is as good as possible. His job is to make sure mine is.
Yeah. It's funny because this reminded me of legs last week in my own workout. So we were like exercise 3 or 4, I can't remember. And I actually felt like squatting.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, you know what? I kind of want to squat today, but I want to squat like when I'm super warmed up and like, you know. So we squatted, I think it was 3rd or 4th. Anyways, we get to the rack. We go 1 plate, 2 plate, 3 plates. And then after the 3 plate set, Braden looks at me and he's like, I'm going to have to skip the next set and I'll make it up on something else. Because I'm just not feeling these today. My back is like,
Right.
And so I was like, okay, no problem. And I went in and I hit my last hard working set to failure, racked the bar, whatever. We strip down, we go to the next exercise, whatever. We finish our workout. We get to the leg press at the end. We leg press like 6th, like after hamstrings.
Yeah.
Like we did 3 we like leg pressed at the very end. And so to make it up, Braden goes, I got to make up that set I missed. So he does a rest pause set because he's like angry at himself, right? So he does a rest pause set.
I like that. That's
so
fucked up.
He finishes with an unannounced rest pause set. So I just go with it and we get through it. And I was like, oh, good way to make up that set. And I didn't realize until the workout was over, but he was so mad at himself for like the whole workout.
He failed himself. He failed you.
Yeah, he's like, I just felt so bad about not doing that set, man. Like, and I was like, oh,
you were just thinking about it.
Well, I just was thinking, he made the smart move. He did like just a thinking man's mid-workout call, right? Yep. Audible. He's just Tom Brady, yep. Just calling an audible. But it was funny how he saw it. He saw it as like that fucking set that didn't happen. It fucking bothered him. So, but but I like that too. That's a good workout partner quality though, right?
For sure.
I
think it's key though that what you drove home though is it's got to be what fits you. Because imagine, look, my training partners have to put up with so much shit training with me. Like, well, think about it. They're to their working set. I got 3 more warm-ups.
Such a diva.
So the amount of time that it takes, like I'm like, geez, I got 2 more warm-ups to do. These guys have already done their working sets.
Well, because they go, when you're on the pendulum, they go 1, 2, 3, 4 plates and they're working. You go 1, 2, 4, 5 for a double, 6 for a single, 7 for working.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. So, I mean, if you think about it in that standpoint, it's the same fucking thing. Like, we will time it out, or I will, because there's 2 of us now. I'll do a warm-up. Guy will do his. I'll do my next warm-up. Like, I'm trying to get to the point where my working sets are happening around the same time as theirs, so everyone's warm and fresh and not cooling down before the next movement. So, yeah, it's and if you got a good partner, all I'm gonna say is don't fuck that shit up because they're hard to come by.
Yeah, and that's another thing about coaching too. I've had people before that are like, okay, I want to work with you for my show. I have a training partner, and they'll be like, is he allowed to do this workout with me? Like, because they think, well, I'm paying you,
to write this workout for me
to help me, but my training partner's going to be training with me every single day. So it's like they know that I know they're going to tell them everything.
Yeah.
Show them the program, do it with them.
Yeah, you can afford it to them.
And I'm like, that's just how life goes. You got a training partner who's about to get kind of
nice of you to pay for his training.
Yeah, sort of. Like it's just how it works. I'm not upset about it. I'd rather you have a good training partner. Like that's going to make you that much better. Like it does never cross my mind. But I guess there's coaches out there that have like a thing about that.
Oh God.
Like, oh, you signed a thing. You wouldn't show my plan so no partners allowed. And like I've heard of that. And I'm just
you know what those coaches are called? Poor.
Poor. Desperate.
I mean, seriously, like I'm not giving you.
Are you starting a cult or are you training people?
The only thing that I have ever had happen, Ron, that actually pissed me off was I had a guy hire me for DC. And I write my DC training identical to how it was written for me. So literally, like, I write in capital letters. I do a lot of ... dots. Like, everything is spaced out. So it reads fluidly because it's a lot of words. And I hate seeing shit like that for myself. I had a guy tell me one time, I was my stories. He goes, "Oh yeah, one of your clients is training me on DC training." And I'm like, "Well, he doesn't know enough to do that." So it was my first thought. I didn't say anything. And he goes, "Yeah," and he goes, "So I'm doing this," and he said something, and I go, "Is it written in all caps?" And he goes, "Yeah." I go, "Oh, then I'm writing your training." He was like, "What?" I'm like, I literally pulled it up. I was like, "Does this look like the email you're talking about?" He was like, "Oh shit." He just copy pasted it, and
yeah.
And I'm like, "That was written for you, not for just anybody."
Yeah.
And there's nothing I can do about it, and I don't really care. You're just a douchebag. And you're stealing from this kid and from me.
Right. Right.
Like, yeah. Like, so you're charging him what I charged you, and you don't actually know what you're doing. And I charged the exact same price Dante charged me in 2007, by the way. Like, that's what I charged the exact same dollar amount that he did then, because that's what the time is worth to me. That's just funny. Because years have went by, I don't think my time's worth anymore. That's the price. Right. But yeah, other than that, yeah, I mean, my training, and a lot of people, the majority of my clients, and I tell them this up front in the beginning, I already have that training written.
Right.
Like, it takes a while. I have to watch you with the training we do for a couple months, and then I start changing the training for you.
Yeah.
Like, so it's not a big, I don't pretend like, oh yeah, I spent 7 hours writing your training. Like,
No.
I know your physique. This will work for you. Or usually what I'll do is I'll take something that's quite a bit different than what they were doing. We start with that and I watch their body. And then, like I said, about 2 months in, now shit starts getting really for them.
Yeah. Like I got a new client just recently, and so what I do is, let's say a guy contacts me, and let's say he's, 240 pounds, been training in 5 years. I think to myself, oh, well, geez, the program I did for this other dude who's about that size, who's been training for 5 years.
Yeah.
He really did well on that program. Yeah. So I'll pull that one up.
Yeah, you might take out the exercises that they can't do, like, he can't do squats, so we'll pull that out.
Right, so then I ask him, what's your gym like? And he's like, oh, it's pretty basic. We don't have any hammer stuff. So I'm like, oh, go through, pull out all the hammer stuff, replace it with relevant exercises. Yep. And then there's like, oh, yeah, I had a knee surgery. So I'm like, okay, well, let's remember this, and let's warm this up, and let's do, like that. And then you customize the workout around. But yeah, when they say, oh, I custom wrote everything, no, you didn't.
Yeah, it always makes me laugh because I'm like, why?
Yeah,
it's not necessary. I mean, essentially, you're doing a lot of the similar stuff, and and I'll even tell people too, because there will be things like I start with you today, and you say, hey, dude, I can't do hack squats. They fuck my knees. I'll literally tell people 6 months down the line, I changed the routine. I put hack squats, and he's like, oh, remember how to do hack squats? I'm like, oh fuck, yeah, I don't remember that.
Right.
You sent me that questionnaire 6 months ago. I'll flip it out real quick. But yeah, I don't so I try to let people know, like, yeah, I don't have like a notepad that I look back every time and go, oh, he doesn't do hack squats.
Yeah. Well, sometimes
a hack would be a good thing for you. Let's put it in there. And then he's like, oh, remember I had that. Oh, fuck, you're right. My bad. We'll do the squat press instead.
Yeah. I've also had it the opposite, where the person says, oh, I can't do hack squats. But then after you actually show them how to train, they can go back to hacks, and they're like, oh,
yeah,
okay. I'm maybe their glutes weren't firing before, or something was wrong with them. And now that they're doing all these other exercises correctly, now they actually can do hacks and their knees don't hurt.
Yeah, it's beneficial now, for sure.
Yeah. So there's all that sort of stuff. So yeah. And we did an exercise yesterday. I did incline barbell press.
Love incline barbell press.
Man, well, I used to love incline barbell press, but I haven't been able to do them for a long time. And we threw them in. I think we did them third in the workout, and felt great. But holy fuck, is it humbling to do an exercise. So an exercise that you not only used to love, but used to always start with.
Yeah, now you're doing it in the end, and you haven't done it in months.
Yeah, it was pretty humbling. So but it was fun,
We just did that because I don't like the this is so bad, but I don't really like the incline free bench that they have at Muscle Factory. Right. So I haven't been using it. I've been doing other stuff. So the entire lockdown I haven't done. We went back to EOS for one workout, and I did them, and I went up to 405, and I got like 5, and I was like, that's really low. I mean, I'm not a strong presser to begin with, but that's really low for me. I was like, okay, I knew it was going to be bad. I didn't know it was going to be quite that bad. like I'm grinding the 5th rep up, and I put it up, and I was like, holy shit.
Well, I went up to 225. How's that? So that's where I was.
I started with them. I started with them. I'm not gonna let you destroy the fact that it was still not great.
And I'm not gonna lie. My shoulder's a bit sore today. Like it is. It is a bit sore. It was a little much. The actual balancing of the bar.
Oh no, it is funny because I had actually decided before we started I was going to go to 365, but it moved well enough, and I was like, you know what? I knew I was shying away from 405 because I knew I was going to get annihilated, not because I couldn't do it. So I was like, don't be a bitch, just do it. I knew you're such a fragile ego. You don't even want yourself to know what you already know.
Did they miss you at EOS?
Oh God. You know what though? I hated it because, and I understand and I get the whole thing, but having people up your ass and come and tell you got to put your mask on, you got to do this. I'm like, because during my set I pulled it down, and then I had some lady who's never worked out a day of her life who screams I'm not healthy, telling me I need to be healthy. by putting a mask over my face. So that was my last time.
So because there's a lot of weird, I'm seeing all sorts of weird rules. So like some gyms are saying you have to wear a mask when you enter and exit the building, but you can take it off to train. And then other gyms are saying you have to wear your mask unless you're doing a set.
Yep.
And then there's other gyms that are saying you have to wear a mask, but not if you're doing cardio.
Yeah. So here, what they've actually done is that they're now mandatory. So I'm not training with one now because the gym I'm going to is not open.
Right.
So I actually, fortunately, went out to dinner a couple weeks ago, and the waitresses were wearing these masks. You ever see when you break your jaw in hockey, you got the plastic piece that just goes over your jaw, but it's away from it, but it's a hard plastic, and it just goes right here? They used to have them a lot when guys didn't wear visors.
Yeah.
They make masks like that, and they come up high enough to be above your nose, but it's away from your face. Immediately ordered those. So I have them. So when I have to wear one, I can wear that. I can breathe. It won't drive me. I mean,
so is it just like a stiffer cloth?
It's just plastic.
Oh, it's just plastic.
So it actually has a thing that's on your chin, and then from there it comes up. So instead of being the fucking visor that comes down, looks like you're welding, it's a small one. It's maybe this high that just goes over the front. And I'm like, well, if they can wear this as a waitress in a restaurant, I can wear it in the gym.
So it's just a spit guard.
Yeah. Which essentially is what the other one is too. I'm like, oxygen and everything can come out below it.
Yeah.
So yeah, we're covered. I'm good to go. And I looked it up. I'm like, all right, it's legit. So I can deal with that until the election when everything goes back to normal and we all realize this is all bullshit. Perfect.
I have a pack of bandanas, and I was just going to wear like bank robber style and let them hang down if I had to, but they haven't mandated anything here yet.
Yeah, you guys are fortunate because it's the dumbest fucking thing ever. The other thing that really, I mean, I hate to say it, but bothered me was no one's been anywhere near me. So I'm like, okay, 6 feet, that's covered. You're wearing a mask, fine. Why do I have to do this?
Right.
Like, and I like, as much as I hate it, like, I understand that people are doing what they have to do. Like, I'm not pulling the Joe Donnelly and wearing the wrist thing and say, oh, I don't have to wear a mask in a grocery store. Fuck it. Okay. I'll put it on. I'll pop through here real quick. Get the fuck out of here. Like, no problem. I'll put it on to, like, I love the rule here. You have to put it on to walk into the restaurant. And you sit down and you take it off.
So I did something last weekend that I forgot to mention. I wore a mask for the first time somewhere. I've been mask free the entire time because it just haven't, the whole shutdown, I was around nobody.
Right.
And I live out in Poco here where you just don't see a lot of masks. I mean, we're not downtown Vancouver. You drive like 40 minutes into Vancouver and you see them everywhere.
Yeah.
It's just not really as common out here. We're on the edge of the city. We're looking at the mountains. It's just not a lot of people wearing masks. And but we traveled to see my dad.
Right.
And so we went on the ferry. And on the ferry, they're mandatory if you want to go up deck.
Right.
So if you leave your car and you want to go use a bathroom or the vending machines or, look something like that, you have to wear a mask. So I put the mutant mask on.
Right.
I got one of the mutant masks. And it's a little tight, but it's sort of a stiff cloth.
Right.
And it actually sits away from my face a little bit.
Oh, nice.
So it kind of just touches like under my chin, and then it just kind of like comes up in front, like just like a half inch from making contact.
Right.
So I was like, oh, this actually isn't too bad. And I put it on and I walked upstairs and I was like walking past people and I was like, it was so weird because it's the first time I worn one.
Right.
Took a piss, all that stuff. And then I had it with me and we were on the island and we stopped to get groceries.
Right. Should we go to the grocery store? And
I thought, I looked and there was no signs.
Right.
And I thought, oh, well, there's no signs. They're not mandating masks, right? So let's just head in. So we headed in, and we're in there for like 5 minutes, and Emily and I noticed we're the only people in here that don't have masks on.
Right.
But no one was saying anything to us. And then I saw like another dude that didn't have a mask on, and he like gave me a nod.
I'm hardcore too.
It was funny because there's a lot of old people live on the island, right? So that's probably why everyone's masked up. But the store was very quiet. Like we didn't come within 20 feet of anyone.
Right.
We just walked in, got our groceries. But it was just funny because I'm realizing more and more that I live in a really interesting little bubble where I happen to live.
Yeah, you're lucky because it actually does. I don't even care if it bothers people. Like I don't like it. I don't like that. I just don't like it. I don't end the story. I don't have to explain myself. So when I'm in the gym like that first day and I put this fucking thing on, I'm looking across, I'm like, look at all these fucking idiots. Look at me being one of the fucking idiots.
Right.
Like, and truthfully, and I don't care what he says, it does affect me. I am breathing through some piece of material. So that's why I was so grateful to get these other masks. I'm like, okay, now I don't want to do it, but at least it's not affecting me.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I mean? And I don't look like an ad for panties in 1970 with my beard coming out the sides, and oh, it's terrible.
Look like an unkept bush.
It does. I got this mask and hair coming out the sides.
Oh, man.
It's not good. It's not good, you know?
Oh, Jesus. Okay, we got time for one more? We got one more?
Absolutely, yeah. I got 20 more, so we got time for one, and then we got people through 4 cardio sessions.
God damn.
Yes. Oh, man. There's so many good.
I'm assuming it's your turn. I can't remember.
Well, I mean, if you have one sitting there, you can fire away because I've got a bunch.
No,
okay, here we go. Refeeds on training day versus a rest day. Go.
Well, in the grand scheme of things, I don't really think it matters. I mean, if you're really, if the purpose of your refeed is to carb up and jack your metabolism or whatever you're doing your refeed for, it really doesn't theoretically matter that much when you have it. I always just like to tell people have it on a training day and have it like, either post workout or the meal after that. Mm-hmm. Just because, your body's kind of cranking and, you hope everything sucks up the nutrients and all that stuff. But I mean, if you're just talking about total calories in, total calories out and all that stuff, it's not that big of a deal, but I do tell people to have it on a training day.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think it also factors into what time of year it is. Like some people are refeeding just because, like, I've always found interesting is if you're having a refeed during a prep because your body is flat, it also throws people off. And I'm like, well, don't go train your face off either.
Right.
Have a little relaxed workout, like train, and then you're going to go have this meal or whatever, which at that point I'm telling them exactly what to eat.
Yeah.
I don't want them. It's not a whole, like, we're feeding this workout. Like, no, I want you to kind of do a California workout and then knock your food down.
Right. Okay.
So pretty.
Yeah,
simple
I've had clients say stuff to me like, "Hey, for my refeed day there, should I do some extra cardio?" I'm like, oh.
No. Funny you should bring that up. I want to make sure that you walk as little as possible on that day.
Yeah, actually, I just want you to sit on the couch.
Yeah.
Okay. No, that's perfect.
Man.
So what's the plan? We're gonna line some guests up.
I think we should do a little run again where we did where we have a few weeks in a row. I've got a lot of people that have come to mind. I'm like, fuck, what? How have I not asked this person yet? So
yeah, me too. When we were talking about guests the other day, I just suddenly remembered a few and I wrote them down. I was like, oh fuck. So I'm also bugging Hunter to get his dad on.
Well, that'd be fun.
So anyone out there that watches the show that happens to run into Lee on a daily basis, I want Lee Labrada on the show real bad.
Yeah, that would be fun for sure.
That'd be cool. So he said, he's like, I message him. I'm like, can you get your dad to check his DMs? And he laughs. He goes, I do it for him all the time. I'm like, Dad, do you realize who's in your DMs? He said there's like all these like who's who of the bodybuilding world that are just lost in Lee's DMs,
Yeah, because he doesn't give a shit. He's such a the thing is too is a lot of people don't realize, like, Lee still runs his company 100%.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I've got friends that work there, so it's like he's fucking slammed. Like, it's a big ask for us to be like, can we borrow 90 minutes of your life?
He said he's going to tell him to come on, though. So.
On a Monday.
Yeah.
We may have to move our day since it's the busiest day of a businessman's week.
Okay. I want him on, but yeah, we'll get some guests coming for you soon. And is that closing up?
That's it, man. Other than the fact that we need people to like, subscribe, comment,
and share.
Try
not to get too lonely in the house.
Well, I'm gonna probably be texting you a lot, so don't worry about it.
Yes. Don't go picking up homeless people to come and stay with you.
What do you mean you got 3 more dogs? Ah, shit.
Yeah. Start fostering dogs for the next 5 weeks.
Exactly. I just need it for a short time. This is about me, not you, dog.
Okay. Okay. Remember, everybody. Like, share, subscribe, comment, and it's just bodybuilding.